I did this Bantu knot on my type 4 natural hair. It is a great hairstyle because it is heatless. Well, you can do a heatless set. You don't need any extra tools or equipment. Like I didn't even use bobby pins. Welcome to my channel Untwisted, where I share tips and tricks to help you simplify your natural hair care routine. And today I'm just going to talk about how I did this Bantu knot on my type 4 natural hair. It is a great hairstyle because it is heatless. Well, you can do a heatless set. You don't need any extra tools or equipment. Like I didn't even use bobby pins. I just twirled it around and tucked it. So you don't need any rollers. It's something that literally anybody can try, but I'm just going to share some tips that I learned through trial and error to get a Bantu knot set that actually turns out great. So one of the things about Bantu knots is that since it's rolled over on itself several times, if you try this style on soaking wet hair, you probably should go ahead and sit under a bonnet dryer, or you need to leave it in for several days to dry. So one thing, the first tip that you should know before you go ahead and do a Bantu knot set is that you want to start on dry or damp hair. I did this on an old style that I took down. If you're going to go from a freshly, if you're trying to do this as your wash day style, I recommend throwing it into like a few 3 or 4 braids, letting it dry 50%, then go in and add your styling products, etc. Before you go ahead and attempt a Bantu knot out set. The second tip I have, again, just due to the way the hair is kind of folded over on itself, I try to go with a mousse to get a Bantu knot out, because I find that gel can be a little too heavy, and again, it's not guaranteed to dry overnight. So if you want to do like neat parts and rock it as a style before you go ahead and try to get a Bantu knot out, there's no problem. Go ahead and use the heavy styling products. But if you want your hair to dry overnight without having to sit under a bonnet dryer, you might want to go ahead and just stick with a lightweight styler. And my other tip about Bantu knots is the size. I work in 4 sections, so it's easy for me to keep the size consistent. I part my hair into 4 and I shoot for 5 or 6 Bantu knots per section. This keeps them from being too big or too small. If the Bantu knot is too big, you won't have enough definition. If it's too small, it might be like too defined and too shrunken. For me to get a nice, elongated Bantu knot out, I go ahead and just make these kind of medium-sized Bantu knots, and they work well on my hair. And if your hair is shorter, you might want to go ahead and use smaller Bantu knots so that you make sure you get enough definition. And if your hair is longer, you could probably get enough definition with bigger Bantu knots. Like if you look at Natural 85's video, she normally does fewer Bantu knots, but that's because her hair is so long that bigger Bantu knots still give her enough definition. But for my length of hair, I find that about 5 or 6 Bantu knots per section work out to get the look that I'm hoping for. So I just finished these, and I'm gonna go ahead and show that footage so you can enjoy it, and then I'm gonna come back tomorrow and take these down. Alright, so I'm finished with this Bantu knot out, and I'm not really that happy with the results. Even though I did it on damp hair, it still didn't dry completely. If I do a Bantu knot out again, I am definitely just going to have to sit under a bonnet dryer. So you'll see here what it could look like with these like defined little curlies. However, yeah, life said it didn't dry completely, even though I let it sit for like 8 hours. So that is like the hardest part about a Bantu knot out set, just because the way the hair is rolled over on top of each other, it just takes a lot of time for it to dry. So I'm going to move on to the next style. This is probably going to go up into a puff. And I hope to be able to bring you a more successful Bantu knot out in the future. Thanks for watching.